Unit 12, Day 4 notes. Today we're going to discuss finding surface area and volume of spheres and composites. This is the last lesson before we test over this unit. Alrighty, so here's our sphere. Our sphere is nothing but a ball. And to find the total area and volume, we need the formula chart. Alright, for surface area of a sphere, it's 4 times pi times radius squared. And for the volume, it's 4 over 3 times pi times radius cubed. So let's go ahead and write those down real quickly before we forget. So 4 times pi times radius squared and 4 over 3 times pi times radius cubed. Alrighty, the radius of my sphere is 4.8. So I just need to plug it in its appropriate space. In both formulas. Sorry, it's 4.8 inches. Okay, now we grab our calculator. And on this example, we're going to round to well, I'll show you the exact answer as well as the approximated answer. So for the exact answer, when I grab my calculator, I put in every number except for pi. So that's 4 times 4.8 squared. So it would be 92.16 pi inches squared. 92.16 pi inches squared for the exact. Or in terms of pi. Now, when I want to approximate, I'm going to approximate to the tenths place. So that means take this answer and multiply it by pi now. And I get approximately 289.5. 289.5. Okay, so the red is the exact answer, leaving in terms of pi, and then the green is the approximated answer rounded to the tenths. I will do the same thing for the volume. So for the volume, in my calculator, the only thing I'm going to type is 4/3. So 4 divided by 3, essentially, times 4.8 cubed. and you get roughly 147.456. 147,456. 147,456 pi inches cubed. And now to get my approximated, I take the answer I just received and multiply it by pi now. So times pi. And to the tenths place, it would be roughly 463.2. 463.2 inches cubed. So again, this shows you how to get the exact answer in terms of pi in red and the approximated answer, which is in green. So you should be able to find the total area and the volume of this sphere on your own. Please do so. Now let's talk about a hemisphere. A hemisphere is half of a sphere. So to find the total area and volume is going to be slightly different. The radius of my hemisphere is 3 feet. To find the total area of my hemisphere, I'm going to take half of the hemisphere, the sphere formula, which was 4 times pi times radius squared, plus I need to add 1 base. The reason I'm doing this is because if I just stop at half of the sphere, that would assume that this bottom piece is just completely opened up, which it isn't. It is covered by a circle. So we would need to find B of my circular base. Okay? But I can tell you in advance, 1/2 times 4 is the same thing as or 1/2 of 4 is 2. So essentially it's 2 pi r squared plus base. Now, let's fill in everything in its appropriate place. So that's 2 times pi times our radius squared plus b. B is calculated by taking pi times your radius squared. Our radius is 3. So if I want the exact, that means put everything except for pi into the calculator. So I would put 2 times 3 squared plus 3 squared again. And that would give me 27. So my exact surface area is 27 pi feet squared. Now if I want my approximate surface area, I will put 27 times pi in my calculator. So now times pi. And you get approximately 84.8 if you're rounding to the tenths. 84.8. Feet squared. Now for the volume, you're going to take half of the volume formula. So that will be half of 4 over 3 pi radius cubed. And if I take half of 4/3, it's like the same thing as taking 2/3 pi radius cubed. So now put everything in its place. So 2 over 3 times pi times radius cubed. That's a cube. My radius is 3 again. So for the exact, put everything in the calculator except for pi. So 2 over 3 times 3 cubed, which is 18. So my volume would be 18 pi feet cubed. And for the approximated volume, take 18 times pi, and I get roughly 56.5 if I round to the tenths. 56.5. Feet cubed. So that's spheres and hemispheres. Now we're going to talk about composites. Composites are taking multiple shapes and putting them together to make one new shape. So on this composite, we have a cylinder and a prism. To find the total area, I would need to find the total area of my cylinder plus the total area of my prism. Subtract the area that they share. The area that they share is this circular region right here. So I'm going to take 2 of them away. One from the bottom of the cylinder and one from the top of the prism. So it's essentially 2 cylinder bases. Okay. Let's look for the total area formula of a cylinder from our chart. cylinder, it's 2 pi r h plus 2 pi r squared. So 2 pi r h plus 2 pi r squared was the cylinder. Plus, I need the prism, which was pH plus 2b. pH plus 2b. And then I need to subtract the 2b bases of my cylinder. So a cylinder base is a circle, so that's pi radius squared. So 2 times pi radius squared. Alrighty. So for my circle or cylinder, my radius and my height, I need to substitute in the right place. You might want to find the perimeter of my prism and the base of my prism separately. So that all we need to do is just substitute the numbers where we need them. So to find the perimeter of my prism, I would be taking 2 times 10 plus 4 because this is the base of my prism. So that would give me 2 times 14, which is 28 feet. So that's good. And then to find the base area of my prism, I would take 10 times 4, which is 40 feet. Now I should have everything I need to substitute in the appropriate location. So it's P times H plus 2 times B, then minus pi times 2 pi radius squared. Okay, so the radius of my cylinder is going to be 3. So everywhere that calls for a radius, I need to put 3. Forgot to square this one part right here. Okay. The height of my cylinder is 8. All right. The perimeter of my prism is 28. The height of my prism is 7. The base of my prism was 40. And now all numbers are where they need to be. So truthfully, I could type all this in the calculator in one motion or individually. The choice is yours. I'm just going to type it in together. So that's 2 times pi. Like that. Times pi times 3 times 8 plus 2 times pi times 3 squared plus 28 times 7 plus 2 times 40 minus 2 pi times 3 squared equals 426.8 if you're rounding to the tenths. 426.8 would be the total area of this composite. Feet squared. Now, volume is not as intense, trust me. To find the volume, you simply just find the volume of the cylinder plus the volume of the prism. So let's look at the formulas for each of those. Volume of cylinder is B times H, as well as for prism. So they use the same formula. That's helpful. So it's B times H plus B times H. For a cylinder, B is found by taking pi r squared and times your H plus for a prism, it's going to be B times H. Nah, let's not use that one. It's a rectangular prism. So since it's a rectangular prism, we can just use length times width times height. So that's pi times our radius squared times our height plus length times width times height. Again, the radius of my cylinder is 3. The height of my cylinder was 8. And then for my prism, I'm using 10, 4, and 7. Now let's calculate the volume in our calculator. pi times 3 squared times 8 plus 10 times 4 times 7. Roughly 506.2 when rounding to the tens place. 506.2. Feet cubed. Alrighty, folks, we're going to take a break right here and resume the next few examples. Feel free to watch if you